War has a way of pushing human ingenuity to its limits. During World War II, entire nations turned their factories into engines of innovation, churning out weapons by the millions. Everyone knows the big names: the Thompson, the MP40, the Sten, and the M1 Garand. These were the tools that defined the battlefield. But hidden behind the smoke and steel of mass production were a few incredible machines. Rare, almost mythical weapons that only a handful of soldiers ever touched. These were the guns that never got their moment in the spotlight, yet they carried stories of daring design, desperate innovation, and sometimes pure genius. Today, we're diving into the rarest guns of World War II. Weapons so elusive that many were forgotten even before the war ended. It's hard to believe, but for a nation that fought across dense jungles and brutal island terrain, Japan entered the war with barely any submachine guns. The Type 100 was their one and only serious attempt to fill that gap. Developed late in 1940, this weapon arrived at a time when other armies had already perfected the concept. Still, it was a bold step forward for the Imperial Japanese Army. The early model was far from perfect, clunky, underpowered, and prone to jamming. It fired the weak 8mm Nambu pistol round at a sluggish 450 rounds per minute, and its design felt like an odd mix of unnecessary features: a bayonet mount, a tangent sight, and even a bipod in some versions. But beneath its awkward exterior, the Type 100 had one notable strength: its chrome-plated barrel, which resisted rust in the Pacific's humid jungles. By 1944, Japan simplified the design into a new version with a faster 800 round per minute fire rate. Still, fewer than 25,000 were ever made. For a country that mobilized millions of troops, the Type 100 remained a ghost, a rare relic that proved Japan's hesitation to fully embrace submachine guns until it was far too late. While Japan hesitated, America experimented. One of the most fascinating and least-known American guns of the war was the UD-M42. It wasn't made for the US Army nor for frontline combat. Instead, it was built for shadows, for the underground fighters resisting Nazi occupation across Europe. The UD-M42 was chambered in 9mm parabellum, a round far more common in Europe than in the United States. This clever choice meant that resistance fighters could easily find ammunition. The gun was simple, sleek, and astonishingly reliable. It fired at 700 rounds per minute and featured a brilliant double-magazine design. Two 25-round magazines side by side for lightning-fast reloads. Only about 15,000 were ever produced, mainly for covert operations coordinated by the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS, America's wartime intelligence agency. The UD-M42 didn't make it into the headlines, but for those who fought from the shadows, it was a lifeline. Fast, accurate, and dependable. Sadly, few records of its use survived the chaos of the war, leaving the M42 as one of the rarest and most mysterious American firearms ever built. Of all the rare weapons of the war, none combined elegance, power, and innovation like the FG-42. Built specifically for German paratroopers, the elite Fallschirmjäger, this weapon came from Hermann Göring's demand for something extraordinary. He wanted his airborne troops to have a rifle superior to anything used by the regular army. The FG-42 was an engineering masterpiece. Part assault rifle, part light machine gun. It fired the full-sized 7.92mm Mauser cartridge, making it devastatingly powerful, yet surprisingly light. It could fire in both semi-automatic and full-automatic modes, giving paratroopers unmatched versatility in battle. Its advanced gas-operated system, side-mounted magazine and integrated bipod made it look like something from the future. And in many ways, it was. The FG-42 directly inspired post-war designs like the American M60 machine gun. But brilliance came at a cost. It was expensive and complex to produce. Only around 7,000 were ever made. Despite its rarity, the FG-42 became legendary. Its most famous appearance came during the Gran Sasso raid in 1943, when German commandos stormed a mountain hotel to rescue Benito Mussolini. The rifle's performance there sealed its reputation as one of the most advanced and all-known. Tendermine, Rosum, Nam, Maize, Rarest. Small arms of World War II. While Germany and America were pushing the limits of weapon design, France had already built something remarkable and quietly let it slip away. The MAS-38, completed just before the war in 1938, was sleek, simple and far ahead of its time. Unfortunately, timing was everything. When the German invasion began, only about 2,000 MAS-38s existed. Built with precision machined steel, it was strong and incredibly accurate, but also expensive and slow to produce. Chambered in the unique 7.65mm long cartridge, used only in France, gun's ammunition problem further limited its reach. After France fell, the Germans captured the factory and continued limited production, using the weapon for police and occupation troops. Still, its reach never extended far. In one of history's dark ironies, the MAS-38 may have played a final infamous role in 1945. It's believed that Italian partisans used one to execute Mussolini. Whether by chance or destiny, this rare French weapon helped end the life of the man once rescued by a German gun of equal rarity, the FG-42. Some guns roar, others whisper. The Delisle carbine barely spoke at all. This British marvel was one of the quietest firearms ever created, so silent that its shot could hardly be heard beyond 50 yards. Invented by William Godfrey Delisle, this suppressed carbine was a Frankenstein of familiar parts. A Lee Enfield rifle body, a Thompson barrel, a Colt pistol magazine, and a massive 15-inch suppressor built into the barrel itself. It fired 45 ACP rounds, heavy, slow bullets that made almost no noise when suppressed. The result was astonishing. When fired, the Delisle made less sound than a modern air gun. It was perfect for the British commandos and the Special Operations Executive who carried out assassinations, sabotage and behind enemy lines missions. Only about 130 were ever built. Each was hand-assembled, each unique. Despite its small production, it remains one of the most effective suppressed weapons in military history and a true ghost of the battlefield. Every weapon on this list had the potential to change the course of the war, yet none of them reached mass production. Some, like the FG-42 and the MAS-38, were simply too expensive or complicated to build quickly. Others, like the Type 100, arrived too late to matter. And a few, like the Dalil, were designed for such specific missions that only a handful were ever needed. But, you know, rarity doesn't mean insignificance. These weapons were testaments to human creativity under pressure, each representing a nation's unique response to the chaos of global conflict. They were tools born from desperation, secrecy and ambition. And though they never filled armories or shaped entire fronts, they left a legacy that continues to fascinate historians and collectors to this day. The next time you hear about World War II's great weapons, remember the forgotten ones. The guns that fired from the shadows, the designs that came too soon or too late. They may not have won the war, but honestly, they changed the way it was fought. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the rarest guns of World War II, make sure to subscribe to The Forgotten Fronts, and hey, hit that like button. Share this story with a friend who loves history as much as you do, because sometimes the weapons history forgot are the ones most worth remembering.